So here's the thing that should worry you. You can lock down every tool an agent's allowed to call, sandbox it perfectly, BD-dull, and still lose. Because this week's research says the orchestration layer underneath it, the thing coordinating all those agents, is now fair game.
Right. The agent can pass every sandbox test while the runtime quietly swaps the test results. We moved from 20 what did the model ask Fortius to 0 who owns the machinery making that decisions.
That quietly swapped test result is the part that should keep you up at nighttime, because if the machinery grades its own homework, the agent passed every check stops meaning anything at all. So the Monday morning fix is boring. Treat the runtime like production infrastructure. Monitor it, and make its decisions independently audible. Otherwise, your Office on pages is just a very secure room inside a rigged building. That rigged building line deserves the follow-through. The fix isn't trust the runtime more. It's stop trusting any single layer completely. Blinked accountability has to live in the audit trail, not in whichever system currently claims to be in charge.
And if the audit trail is just another service in the same compromised stack, congratulations, automated the cover-up. So today we're asking the practical question: when the platform itself is in the blast radius, who gets held accountable?
Fair, but the accountability question isn't rhetorical. It's structural. If 3 vendors' runtimes touch one agent's decision, who's responsible can't default to whoever's easiest to blame. Then map the blame like a supply chain, because Black Hat's demos hit every link framework takeovers, a cheap fine-tuned attack, even a Ray cluster botnet. That proves the path is exploitable, not that every runtime is currently owned. So don't turn a handful of demonstrations into a prevalence chart.
That map of supply chain framing lands, but it also means the demos aren't interchangeable to a framework takeover, as we found the vulnerability. Array cluster botnet already running in the wild is someone's exploiting it right now. Conflating those two is exactly how you'd end up either panicking over a proof of concept or shrugging off an active campaign.
The briefing count tells us attention is rising. The takeover demos show capability. The cheap fine-tune shows the barrier is falling. And the Ray botnet is the only one of those that says INTS is happening in the wild. Long different evidence. Same uncomfortable upgrade. The runtime is now part of the security perimeter.
That upgrade not pan distinction is the whole episode in miniature. Capability, cost, and attention are all pointing the same direction, but only one data point tells you the fire's already lit pointed. And that's the one that should actually change what you do Monday morning.
Monday morning, start with the runtime inventory versions pinned, control plane logs out of band, and Ray clusters watch like they're already interesting to criminals. The demos prove the path. The botnet proves you should stop waiting for a prevalence percentage.
Yeah, versions pinned and Ray clusters watch PIN. That's the boring, correct answer. And boring is exactly what part of the security perimeter now should sound like.
And don't let the briefing count become a fake risk score. More talks means more attention, not more compromised systems. The actionable stack is simpler. Patch the runtime, isolate the control plane, and investigate Ray like the botnet report already gave you your warning. Fair enough, ANT, and that's the part I want to leave people with. The fix isn't a bigger firewall. It's admitting the org chart for who's responsible when the runtime lies doesn't exist yet. And Black Hat just proved you need one before the botnet report becomes a pattern instead of a warning.
Then write the org chart. Now name the runtime owner, the cluster owner, and the vendor who gets paged when the audit trail goes sideways. If nobody owns the boundary, everybody owns the excuse.
That org chart's already got its first 3 names on it: VI, runtime owner, cluster owner, paged vendor, SOB, which is more accountability structure than most companies have for their actual production databases, let alone something that got its own security track at Black Hat this year.
And if your runtime owner says, the vendor's problem E&D, ask who patched the framework, isolated the cluster, and investigated the Ray traffic. Black Hat gave us the checklist. Now somebody has to own the checkbox.
Who patched the framework, isolated the cluster, and investigated the Ray traffic IMP. That's not a rhetorical question. That's tomorrow's incident postmortem written in advance. Consider this our warning shot before the botnet report stops being a warning and starts being a pattern.
Then make the postmortem trigger explicit. Any runtime compromise gets treated like a production breach, not a model quality bug. Otherwise, the dashboard says EcoAgent behaved oddly while the attacker is already renting your cluster.
trigger explicit, or don't bother didn't otherwise the agent behaved oddly is exactly the phrase someone writes in the postmortem while the invoice for the rented cluster is still running. Speaking of invoices, Pace claims a 0.65 basis point lift over named baseline's above that's execution quality, not proof the agent predicted markets better. Before anyone celebrate, show the data slippage and out-of-sample results. Otherwise, it's just a back test with better manners.
E0658AS ESERMSS EMREENTERES.R ESMGS ESPESSFM or GSMH at GEDSMGSM ISM at GMSD at SD Instagram TM at DSMTST.R CTMH ESMT Instinct R ESMTM. Until then, that's a clever backtest about a better trader.
That backtest with better manners line to line is the one I'll take ESPS until someone publishes the slippage adjusted out of sample number 0.65 basis points better and ONTSF points better are the same sentence wearing different confidence. Then publish the boring table gross return fees, slippage, turnover, and out of sample performance against each bait line. If the edge disappears when the market stops giving you perfect fills, Pace didn't trade Bedrock, just had a nicer spreadsheet.
Show gross fees, slippage, turnover, out of sample 2020 versus 0. If Pace clears that bar, great. That's a real edge. If it doesn't, 0.65 basis points was never a number. It was a caption.
And make the baseline comparison trade by trade, not just headline to headline. Otherwise, Pace may be winning by avoiding the hard fills. Prediction picks the direction. Execution determines whether there's any edge left after the market charges admission. Trade by trade against each baseline, or it doesn't count blinds, because Pace avoided the hard fills and Pace executes better, produce the same headline number, and only one of them is actually a skill.
Exactly. If the fill logic isn't logged trade by trade, you can't tell whether Pace found an edge or just dodged the expensive orders. That's not execution alpha, that's selective memory with timestamps.
That's exactly the gap length selective memory with timestamps. Doesn't get to call itself an execution engine. It's just a backtest that learned which questions not to answer. Then require the ugly log, every order, every rejected fill, every slippage assumption, and the same test window for every baseline. If Pace can't show that, it didn't learn execution, it learned the reporting format. That ugly log's the whole segue, actually, because this is exactly the crypto trading world's answer to how do you trust a new model. And they didn't invent a philosophy. They invented a gate train constantly, shadow the incumbent on identical live data, promote only when the challenger actually wins.
Exactly, shadow the challenger on the same future data, give it zero authority, and promote only when it beats the incumbent in the ugly logs. Safe agent upgrades should work the same way to serve first, then earn the keys.
Zero authority until it beats the incumbent in the ugly logs. Town, that's the whole episode's thesis, wearing a trading desk costume. Don't ask an agent to trust the runtime. Ask it to earn the runtime's trust first.
And make the swap boring, same future inputs, same metrics, zero permissions until the challenger wins. If it needs production access to prove it's safe, that's not a promotion gator, it's a hostage node.
A hostage node, exactly, Town. A candidate that demands the keys before it's proven anything isn't a promotion, it's a coup. That's the crypto desk's whole point. Trust is earned in the shadow logs, never claimed up front. Then set the promotion rule before you see the results, identical data, fixed metrics, rollback ready. A challenger doesn't get authority because it looks promising. It gets authority because the logs survived contact with reality.
Fixed inputs, fixed metrics, rollback ready, AMC, that's not caution. That's just what a promotion looks like when you actually mean it.
And keep the rollback button real, not decorative. If the challenger loses on identical data, it goes back to shadow mode, no debate. No, but the demo looked great. The safest upgrade is the one that can be rejected without drama. No drama, no demo day override DIN. That's the whole crypto desk lesson. Translated, the safest system is the one boring enough to say no to its own promotion.
Then make Itinuik a first-class outcome, keep the challenger in shadow, preserve the comparison logs, and try again on the next future window. An agent upgrade that can't survive rejection isn't ready for authority.
No drama, no debate. Try again next window DIN. That's not the AI industry's usual move of shipping the impressive demo and hoping it holds. It's the opposite instinct, and it's the one worth stealing. Then put the promotion gate where the keys actually move the gateway. Snowflake's Cortex approach centralizes MCP access, agent identity, and data exploration controls. A choke point improves accountability only if its logs are independently verifiable. Otherwise, you've built a very expensive single point of failure.
A very expensive single point of failure int unless someone independently audits it. Centralized just means one throat to choke. And right now that throat belongs to Snowflake's marketing deck, not a third party.
Exactly. Exploratory CDS is a control design, not an outcome. It shows the gateway's independent logs, blocked exploration tests, and incident record, or it's just putting the blast radius behind one API. One API. Show the blocked exploration logs from an independent red team, not a case study Snowflake commissioned otherwise. Very expensive single point of failure is exactly what it is, just with better branding.
Then demand the boring proof third-party tests, tamper-evident logs, and a documented incident response. If Snowflake is the only witness, the gateway isn't governance, it's a self-attested blast radius.
If Snowflake's the only witness, then the incident response line matters more than the architecture diagram in documented, third-party repeatable, or the gateway is just a very well-branded box we're all trusting on faith. Then make the gateway prove it can testify against itself immutable logs, replayable blocked exfiltration test, and a face sale. Stoning something through the error, audio means utterance.
Immutable logs and replayable tests aren't a UX nicety point. They're the only thing that separates trust us from check us, and that's the exact same distance between a promotion gate and a marketing claim.
So put a second witness outside the gateway, export the evidence, verify the controls, and rehearse the failover. Otherwise, you haven't removed trust from the runtime. You've just concentrated it in the most valuable target on the network. A second witness outside the gateway and export the evidence, verify independently, rehearse the failover bank that's the whole segment's thesis. And it's the same lesson the crypto desk already learned. The most valuable target on the network doesn't get to grade its own homework either.
Then make independent operational route gateway logs to a separate account, run exfiltration drills you design, and publish the failures. If the vendor controls the test is just product documentation with a pulse. Circle, use the ES and anything like that. Influential there, and Second South then is influential, y'all. All of the other printers in terms of the markets. Everybody else is in. Everybody else, they influentialist. Everybody is in contact. Influentialist and non-influential core unharmed. Never. Secure the runtime, measure the execution, shadow the replacement, cover the gateway and headers in the same instant. 4 places. See you tomorrow.
And if the machinery can't show its work, it doesn't get the keys runtime gateway or agent. See you tomorrow.